everyone. So this is day 2 of our enchanted forest. So we had day 1 where we did the outsides, and today we're going to do the insides. So I hope you like this one. I think the ending results will be quite, when you look at it from a distance, it's quite deep actually. It's a lovely picture. So let's just get into art mode. So welcome, and again, thank you for being here. So let's take a deep breath in and hold it for a second and smile. And if you need to drop your shoulders, do that and release. Really let that go. If you want to, if you're by yourself and you're comfortable, you can let out a sigh. It's up to you. That actually works very well for sleeping too. So try a second deep breath in and hold it and smile and release. Just feel any tension from the day just dripping off your fingers. And a third deep breath in and hold it for a second and release. There we go. So that's just to get us into art mode, just to get us into the moment. And we have several colors with this picture. We have deep green, emerald green, or viridian, whichever you have. Yellow, we have some white on there. That's what changes this picture from a watercolor to a mixed media if we add white. Aquamarine and cerulean blue. So a few more colors, different colors than what we had in the beginning. And if you decide, the deep green will probably work for those dripping vines down the center, or you can use indigo like you used before. So supplies that you'll want to have on board are 2 buckets of water. We had 3 for the last picture because we had quite a bit of deep colors on. We do have deep colors, but we've got some transitioning going from one to the next. Paper towel, brushes 1 to 6. If you want, you can always use an angle brush. That's always handy. I have 2 different sizes. One is larger, one is smaller. So one is just a little thinner. And a blow dryer also was mentioned. So if you've got a blow dryer handy, then that's a good addition. And if you want to, for some of the leaves on the side, you can use a card, the edge of a card, or your brush will do just fine. So either is fine. I just happen to have the card out for this purpose. So, and you have time to go and get that in between, while we're blow drying, or it's not a panic thing. So with that, I'm going to turn my camera and we will get to doing our artwork. So this is what we're starting with. So if you're just back and you haven't done the first part, you can do that after. The deep parts on it sit on top of the picture. So if you had it done, that would be good. And with this, we're going to start with aquamarine blue. So I'm using the water. So this is wet on dry, so my canvas will stay dry. And I'm using aquamarine blue. And I'm going to paint this area, this little pathway. I'm painting this all aquamarine blue. So it's going to dry quite a bit lighter. Remember, watercolor will dry 20 to 30% lighter than when you put it on. I'm also going to go around these little bushes, around this little bush here, little trees. If I hit them, that's okay. But I'm bringing this color all the way, and I've actually covered right over these leaves. So I'm just going to cover right over right to the bottom so that path continues on. And I've got some little flowers there. I may or may not paint those flowers. So I'm just going to do the path right over top. And just using water just to thin that out. Just to have a nice light coverage. It is a path, so it doesn't need to be completely even. Lights and darks are okay. We're actually going to paint some lines in that path, so not to worry if it's not completely covered. So that's all I've done, is just done that pathway. And as I mentioned, it's going to dry lighter. And if at any point you feel your shoulders are up around your ears, just take a deep breath and let that go. Drop your shoulders. We're going to use that same color, aquamarine blue, and we'll paint those trees. So the trees that are in the background are aquamarine blue. Just painting just a fake one up the center here, just a stick. And I've got a tree beside it that's drawn. And I want some branches coming off. I'll just go ahead and paint those branches wherever you see fit. And I have this large tree in the center. It too has branches that come off. And it's a fairly large trunk on this tree. And I'm just going to paint another couple of smaller trees just at the side. So these weren't drawn in, but you can just paint those on. So we've just painted some trees up into the forest, and you can pop in those branches wherever you like. They are going to dry and fade into the background. So as they dry, they'll dry a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to have my paper towel in one hand and my brush in the other. I've dampened my brush, dipped it in the water, and I'm going to tap it off on paper towel. So again, it's wet and I'm just tapping it off on paper towel. I'm not drying it completely. And then I'm going to lift off some of the paint. Okay, tap it off. I'm lifting off paint to have a shadow or the look of light. Hi, Nancy, welcome. So what we've done is we've painted in aquamarine our forest floor. And then we've painted, there's a couple of extra trees painted in here, but we've just painted the trees in aquamarine blue, same color. And now I'm just lifting off in the trunk of this tree, a little bit of light coming from the bottom up. I still want this paint on the outside edge, but I want it to look like light is shining on the trunk of this tree. So we're just lifting off paint. And just using a damp brush, it has to move, has to lift. So be patient with it. You may need to dampen your brush a couple of times. We're just looking for a light source coming onto the trunk of that tree. So here I'm going to use my angled brush to really lift that off. This is where this brush comes in handy sometimes. It just has a little more structure. And the beauty of watercolor, if you take off more than you like, you can always add a little bit back on. Now, if you've got your branches on, you've got your tree trunks on, you've lightened the front of your tree. If you're that far, we're done with the ultramarine. And we'll move on to the emerald green or viridian green. So I'm going to use viridian. And the viridian green, I'm going to do my background in between the trees. So I want it to be fairly light. It looks like it's going on dark, but it will lighten up as it dries. And I'm going to paint my background around the trees. Now this color will dry lighter. But this color is what gives it that misty, wispy looking enchanted forest kind of look. Now next I have deep green and yellow mixed together, and it gives an olivey color. So if I mix deep green and yellow together, it comes up an olivey color. So I want this olivey color for the branches on my little trees at this, or my little leaves at the side. And I'm going to use that same olivey color on the far corner, the right-hand corner, just to make it look like a clump of little bushes in here. And you can see I've got some lights and darks, doesn't have to be even. And I'll come back to this other corner where I've done that leaf. We're going to let that one dry, and we'll do this second one once that's dry. So I'm going to work on the right-hand side with my deep green. And you can see it's fairly light. It's watered down. But my deep green, I'm just going to fill in right to the edge of my path. There's some flowers there, and you can go back and do the flowers if you like. I'm just going to make this be foliage. And we'll do a nice, tall, bamboo looking little tree or plant in the front corner. So this is my deep green, watered down, so fairly light. It will dry lighter. So switching to a zero brush with my deep green, I'm going to just create at the side, just above where I've just painted. I'm just going to have some branches coming out. I'm still using my number 0 or my 0 brush and my deep green. I'm going to start to create some lines in my pathway. Just using deep green, just a few little lines in the pathway, and a few dots would work. Just looks like little pebbles along the edge. And with my deep green, I'm going to outline that leaf. I'm just doing the outline. And I'll do the outline of the one underneath it. And with that deep green, I'm going to make some trails coming down, right down into the center of my largest tree trunk. So they're a wiggly line, it's not a straight line. Different lengths. And these are vines just coming down. And for those that need to catch up, I'll just read we're at halftime already, so I'll just read our card for today. It says, I nourish myself. Decide that today you will eat only food that loves you. You know better than anyone what is best for you. I nourish myself. And it has blueberries on the front. I don't know if you eat blueberries, but it has blueberries there. Decide that today you will eat only food that loves you. You know better than anyone what is best for you. And I'd say ice cream, but I don't think that's quite what they had in mind. Not what you like, but what nourishes you. So where are we at? Let's see. Let's go back to that emerald green or viridian green. Some of that on my brush. And I'm just going to start to create just a little bit of grasses on the tops of my left-hand side of my forest. Just doing a little bit of grasses on the top. It just pops up there, just on top. And I'm going to use that same viridian green down the bottom, just in between where that leaf, the little openings of the leaf is. I'm just going to fill that area in viridian green. Going right down to the outside corner. Well, not quite to the corner, wherever it ended for you. Now that my right-hand side is dry, this looks like it's dry. I'm going back in with deep green. So I've got these little branches coming out the side. I'm also going to do some branches inside. So I want a little bit of grasses growing. This is where, if you wanted to use the credit card, if you put on a fairly wet paint and use your credit card, you can actually make some little grasses just by pulling up, and they can go different directions. If you want it to stay smaller, then your brush is probably a good idea. Some little grasses along the edge. And while I have my zero brush out, I'm going to go ahead and put leaves on my vines. So on my vine, I'm just adding little leaves on either side. I'm just getting smaller as I go down to the bottom. My outer edge of my leaf painting will probably be dry, so I can go back to that mixture of dark, the deep green, and yellow, which is that olivey color. I'm going to go a little bit deeper this time. And I'm just going to paint that leaf. I've got that outer edge painted, so it gives me a little bit of a border. So it will show up one leaf either underneath or on top of the other one. So keep some of that deep green. We're going to go ahead and paint that bamboo looking leaf in the front. So starting from the bottom, I'm coming up, coming right into the path, a big leaf. Another leaf curled into the path. Another one just going on to the outer trunk. So this is just created out of thin air. We've got this branch, this tree in the forest. We'll give it some lightness to branches once it dries a little bit. And in order to give this forest some lightness, I'm going to move on to yellow. So at the base of our circle, our curve, I'm putting a nice yellow circle. And then below the one on the right-hand side, they're almost like fairy lights. We've got a nice yellow circle. And then with that yellow, I'm going to create another vine coming down the tree. So we have the vine sitting on top of the tree and coming all the way down. Nice little vine coming down the tree and growing right along the side of the tree. So this is very bright on that deep green. We also have another bush growing right out of the middle of nowhere in yellow. Some nice branches. And I'm going to continue with this yellow. We've got another one coming up on the other side, right over our newly planted or painted branch. A little tree coming out of the side, right down in front. I'm going to do another yellow tree on the other side. Just bright, nice bright yellow. So it looks like a bush, but it's just a series of dots. the same yellow on the leaves that we've painted that might still be a little bit wet. We're just going to give a little bit of brightness with that yellow. If your brush starts to pick up too much green, rinse your brush and go back into fresh yellow and pop that on again. And if your yellow is fading a little bit with the color, you can go back on and put fresh yellow. We also have white, which we're going to add to this. So the white will help to preserve some of that yellow. So with the white, I'm going into, I'm using a zero brush going into my white. And I'm going to tap on that yellow light. If I lose some of that yellow, I can top it back off, but the white will help it really stand out, get a little bit brighter. And I'm going to use the white just on top of where I put that yellow, just to give it a brighter look. So wherever you've put yellow, just top it off with white. The yellow will still show through. The white will give it a nice lighter, almost a sheen. And all around that light, I'm going to just tap some little white dots. It's just a glow from the light. You can tap right in there and pick up some of that color as well. So it's just a glow from my light.
Hi, Kathy. I gotta leave. There's someone at the door. I'll send my picture in later.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining.
Thanks.
So there we have our glow in the forest. And I'm just adding a little bit of fresh yellow to those banana-shaped leaves. And I'm just going to add a little bit of extra yellow just on the sides, just coming up just a little bit, just to blend in with that green. Just at the side of my path. And what you'll need to decide is what your signature looks like if you're going to sign your artwork. What does that look like? You decide. And there's your fairy garden or enchanted garden. Well, I guess it's more like a fairy garden, isn't it? Enchanted. And there's a lot of details in that one, little details here and there. So I hope that's satisfied you with a two-part picture. So I hope you liked that one. It was a little bit of a tedious one, back and forth, but things needed to dry. So good for you, and thanks for coming on board. Bye, everyone.